I was at the Bilderberg meeting. I was in the room. I know what was discussed, and I know what the global plan is. How many people are you going to hear that says, I was on Skull and Bones Island with the Bonesmen having a meeting? I was at their headquarters at Yale University. I was in the building, the tomb. How about somebody who's going to say, I was at Bohemian Grove? I was one of the top level members in the Brotherhood. I was used around the world. I mean, just recently I had the Queen of a country call up and ask for advice, and I had the King of a country call and ask for advice. Oh yeah, there's reptilians that are shapeshifters that are...
This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Before I get into that, I also going to talk more about the globalist agenda, because as you see here, I am a former insider. First up, how do I know this stuff? You can go on YouTube, you can go on Spotify and listen to podcasts, and there's a lot of great podcasts out there. There's a lot of very interesting people being interviewed, and there's a lot of smart, interesting people talking. You can learn a lot. You can gain a lot of information. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I think a lot of the things out there, if you watch, are very negative, and many of them, when you start listening, you feel a certain way, and when you're done, you feel worse. It's like, oh my God, everything's so bad. There's all these evil people trying to screw you over, and everyone's taking advantage of you, and you're being manipulated, you're being lied to, and you feel terrible. There's no solution. So think about how you feel right now, because when you get done watching the show, you're going to feel a heck of a lot better. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. The reason that says former insider, for some of you who don't know the story, I was in a society called the Brotherhood. It's a secret society. It's senior to some of the other secret societies that people are familiar with. Skull and Bones at Yale University, Bilderberg Group, Bohemian Grove. Those are kind of the most well-known of the secret societies. Well, if they were really secret societies, you wouldn't even know the names. So they're not so secret. Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove, and Skull and Bones are secret societies. They're known, but what goes on behind closed doors, that's what's a secret. Even in the Freemasons, which is the predecessor, their predecessor was the Templars that became the Freemasons. The real secrets start above the 33rd degree. So if you look at these societies, you find that the people who run the world on Supreme Courts around the world, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the biggest banks in the world, Citibank, Bank of America, Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Bank of England, and so forth. You look at the biggest corporations in the world. Let's take the top 500 largest corporations in the world. Look at the politicians, the prime ministers, the presidents, the people that are major politicians. And then if you take that group of men and women together and say, what percentage of them are members of one of these secret societies? It's like 90%. And I would suggest it's really 100%, you just don't know. At Bilderberg, the people that run the world, everybody is like just, they're all members of secret societies, including being a member of the Bilderberg Group. They're running the world. What goes on behind closed doors is beyond your comprehension. And the most senior secret society, which very few people have heard about, is called the Brotherhood, but there's been a lot of movies which talk about vaguely what the Brotherhood is or how it operates and how they control, people in the Brotherhood control the people in politics. They control what happens in the media. They control what happens in the movies. They control what happens with politicians and how they vote. They control lobbyists. They control blah, 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 blah. Control, control, control. All to screw you over. Okay. So where am I coming from, which maybe is a little bit different than some of the other people you may be listening to? And again, I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've watched, different people, and some of the shows are excellent. And I think they did a really great job of research. They did a great production job. They did a great communication job. They was entertaining. They had great video and visuals and clips of this and clips of that. And they have, they take documents and they show you highlights of what was written in documents. They do a lot of research. They have a great team of people. They do all this research and they put together a pretty good story. The difference is none of these people that you're listening to, with rare exception, Bob Lazar, for example, who was on Joe Rogan recently. I was watching that. He was at Area 51. He was physically there. So he's talking from firsthand experience. But you don't find that very often, do you? Where somebody is talking about, I was at Area 51. I saw the alien spacecraft. I sat in it. I was physically in it. I touched it. And let me tell you what I saw. That's called first-hand experience. Very rarely. You're not going to find somebody on podcasts or YouTube shows that says, I was at a Bilderberg meeting. You have people that were outside filming us, me included, coming in and out. But you're not going to find somebody like me who says, I was at the Bilderberg meeting. I was in the room. I know what was discussed, and I know what the global plan is. How many people are you going to hear that says, I was on Skull and Bones Island with the Bonesmen having a meeting? I was at their headquarters at Yale University. I was in the building, the tomb. It's impossible. You're not going to find anyone. How about somebody who's going to say, I was at Bohemian Grove? Now, you can find somebody and says, we know you were at Bohemian Grove, and they'll say, yes, thank you for coming, and they're not going to say anything. So here, as a former insider, I was at these places, and if you don't know the story, read the book Natural Cures, read More Natural Cures Revealed. I tell a little bit of the story. I can't tell the entire story, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But I was there. And this is one of the reasons why the government has been so crazy about trying to discredit me and put me in prison and stop me from revealing all the stuff they don't want you to know about. So that's why I'm the former insider. Now, for years, I've been saying things. And this is part of the globalist plan, by the way. Oh, Kevin, what do you know about the globalist plan? Well, if you're paying attention, I was in the Bilderberg meetings. I was one of the top level members in the Brotherhood. I was used around the world. I mean, just recently I had the Queen of a country call up and ask for advice, and I had the King of a country call and ask for advice. And when the whole Palestinian or Israel thing called, I was called and asked for advice. Why? Because of the ability to see into the ether. I was in a car when we were going to Puerto Rico for Leadership Weekend, and I told the story at Leadership Weekend to the Global Information Network members. I get into the car at the airport, and I'm going an hour and a half drive to the hotel. We're staying at the El Conquistador Resort, which is where we had the Global Information Network Leadership Weekend. We had members coming from all around the world. I'm in the car, and I have a passenger sitting next to me, Danielle. The phone rings, and it's my friend. I've known this guy since the 70s. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. He's in his 80s now. Let me say it again. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. He knows everyone everywhere. He's been on the boards of colleges, hospitals. He's been at the White House. He's been with the Queen of England. He's been all over the world with the top people. He's a major insider. And I've known him for a long time. And he called me up, and I put him on speakerphone. And I said, hey, I'm here with Danielle. She's the managing director of the Global Information Network. We're headed off to the leadership conference. And he says, okay, can I talk freely? I said, yeah. He said, all right, the reason I'm calling you, Kevin, he says, because I know everybody. He says, I met this guy who's doing energy work with people with the most severe post-traumatic stress disorder and miraculously curing them. And he seems to be doing something in the mind, and I can't see it. And this is what he says, and the phone's right here. It's on speakerphone. He goes, you're the only person in the world that I know that can see this and tell me what's happening. So can you look and tell me what's happening. This guy's in his 80s, one of the wealthiest guys in the world. This is something that you see in a Hollywood screenplay or in a movie. Like, it doesn't happen, it doesn't exist. And I says, all right, so the guy is bald, gray, he's from Israel, right? He's kind of overweight, yes. I go through him to make sure I'm dialed into the right guy. And my friend says, you got him. So I go, yeah, let me tell you what's happening energetically. And I then describe exactly what's happening energetically. And he said, well, I knew you're the only person on the planet that'd be able to do that. Thanks for taking my call. And we talked a little bit further. And he was talking about some of the other things we did, where we've been. And my friend over here, her mouth is on, jaw is on the ground, cannot believe what she's hearing. He goes, remember when you and I were with the prince here and the king here, and we were down there and over there and in that tunnel, and we went to this and, yeah. So when I tell you what the globalist agenda is, it's not a theory. It's not something that is sound good. It's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, there's reptilians that are shapeshifters that are, I'm not making stuff up. This is something that happened. And if you think about how foolish it would be for me to be on this show and even do this show and say some of these things, knowing that a lot of you are going to be going, I don't know if I really believe that. Hey, that doesn't matter to me whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter whether you accept this or reject this, just like in the book It Works. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. You can live the life you want. I'm not here to try to convince you. I'm here to kind of entertain you. I'm here to awaken you. I'm here to snap you out of your trance, but only if you so choose. Quite frankly, I care about you, but not that much. I have a great life. I always have a great life. No matter what the external circumstances are in, I have a great life. Whether in a prison cell and someone's trying to kill me, which happened 3 times, and I will tell you the story, and I survive. Whether I'm not fed for a week, and I'm put in a cell with lights on and music blasting 24/7 for an entire week to try to break me mentally. Whether I'm fishing and we're caught in the rain, or whether I'm in a suite in Rome saying goodbye to Madonna as she's leaving the same suite that I'm just moving into, the largest suite in the city of Rome. Having private chefs and opera singers sing for me and cook privately, and having the most spectacular wine and cigars and cognac afterwards and single malt scotch with people I can't even mention their name. It doesn't matter. My life is always good because it's what's inside, not what is outside, that determines how you feel and think. And you can turn that switch. You can have that bubbling up eternal spring of joy and optimism and happiness and bliss, regardless of what the external circumstances are. And when you do that, the external circumstances generally turn in your favor anyway, and they become what you wish them to be. Well, in the Brotherhood, we learned through ancient manuscripts that was in our organization for thousands of years, the real formulas which help not just manifest goals, dreams, and desires, but also attain enlightenment and self-realization and joy and peace and being able to release, you can call them supernatural abilities, but they're not really supernatural. There was a show on Discovery called Superhuman. My friend Xian Ming, the Shaolin monk, was on there. You see what people can do. And there's one guy who's moving a device with his chi energy. He's got this device and he's just, with his hands, the machine is going back and forth. And I was watching thinking, this is a very rudimentary demonstration of moving something called telekinesis, moving something with your mind or thoughts, but it's really moving with chi energy. And he was using the chi coming out of the palms of his hand, which we learned in martial arts, and I learned in the Brotherhood as well, but also beyond that, how to be able to move matter with the mind. But one of the ingredients which help